Good Shabbos. We are beginning, and we turn to the Shalom Aleichem on page number 5. We have 2 song sheets this evening from the rear table, but first we begin with the Shalom Aleichem found here in the Siddur on page number 5. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Asharet Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malachei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boachem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malachei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hu Nele Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malachei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Seichem L'Shalom Malachei Ashalom Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malachei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem reminds us that the angels associated with God's heavenly entourage are now traveling throughout the universe. And we just greeted them. And now we turn to page number 10, which is Yedid Nefesh. And this song, this poem, on page 10 in the Siddur, this song, this poem, page 10, touches on each one of us as a soul. And it is the aspect of the soul that makes you God's friend. You're God's friend. And God wants to hear you sing and talk and interact. That's Yedid Nefesh in a nutshell. Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman Meshachavdach El Ritzonach Yarotz Avdach Kemo Ayal Yishtachaveh Mohadarach Ki Yerav Lo Yedidutach Minofet Suf Vechol Tam Hadur Nae Ziv Olam Nafshi Cholat Avatach Ona El Narefan Allah Beharot La Noam Zivach Az Titchazek V'Titrape V'Hayatalach Shivchat Olam Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai Dai Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai Dai Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai Dai Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 We turn now to L'chun Ranana on page 11. L'chon ranana ranana ladonai naria naria litzor yishenu. L'chon ranana ranana ladonai naria naria litzor yishenu. Nekad mafanav nekad mafanav nekad mafanav betoda. Bizmirot naria lo. Bizmirot naria lo, Bizmirot, Naria lo, Bizmirot, Naria lo. It's the fourth line, the first word, Zemirot. Zemirot, Ashkenazish, Zemirus, sing. And many Zemirot, are very labadic, upbeat, and energetic. We're singing because we're happy. Look at that first stanza on the English side on 11. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Our voices begin to resonate. Our voices are echoing the energy of a trumpet. That's how we begin Shabbos. The last stanza on page 12 on the Hebrew side. Arbaim shana kut v'dor v'omar m'tawei levavhem v'hem lo'idu drachai asher nishbati v'api imevon el menuchati. Pardon me. On page 14 on the English side. Bow to Adonai in the glory of this holy place. Tremble before God's presence, all who dwell on earth. Announce among the nations, Adonai reigns. The land is firm and will not be moved. Peoples will be truthfully judged. The heavens shall be glad and the earth rejoice. The sea and its fullness roar. The meadows and all that grows in them exult. Even the trees of the forest shall sing praise as Adonai comes to judge the earth, judging lands with righteousness and peoples with divine truth. There's a progress here. The earlier psalm, we're singing and our voices become a trumpet. Here, nature itself sings. We have a couple of song sheets, and we'll begin with the first one. It's by Craig, and it's entitled Mode'ani, and I'm stepping a little bit out of sequence, but allow me to explain for just a moment. Mode'ani means, thank you God, I'm alive, and traditionally, upon awakening in the morning, if we remember, even before we swing our feet out of the bed, we say this one sentence. Men say Mode'ani, women say Moda'ani, Lefanecha melachai v'kayam. I thank you. You are the sovereign right in front of me. Melachai v'kayam. Shechazarta, you've returned to me, my soul. B'chemla, with great compassion. Rabba emunatecha, great is your faithfulness. We say that every morning. And Craig takes hold of this modeh and brings it a modern, contemporary sound. But it's a reminder that our tradition says, let's sing together. Mode'ani.
Mode'ani, I am thankful for this day. Mode'ani, I am thankful, Mode'ani, Mode'ani. Awake from your slumber, awaken your soul. Awake to the wonder, awake, become whole. Rise up and breathe in a breath that is new. Rise up and shake off the dust from your soul. Life is returning, making you whole. Open and breathe in the life of the day. Modeh Ani, Modeh Ani.
I am grateful.
I am grateful for this day. Modeh Ani. I am grateful. Modeh Ani. Modeh Ani. I am thankful for this day.
Modeh Ani.
I am grateful. With the light of the day when the darkness has gone, with every breath and with every new sun, rise up and breathe in, the mystery lives on.
Modeh Ani.
Awake from your slumber, awaken your soul. Awake to the wonder, awake, you are whole. Rise up and breathe in a breath that is new. Modeh Ani.
Modeh Ani. I am grateful. I am grateful for this day. Modeh Ani. I am grateful. Modeh Ani. Modeh Ani. I am thankful for this day. Modeh Ani. I am thankful.
Rise up and shake off the dust from your soul. Life is returning, making you whole. Open and breathe in the life of the day. Modeh Ani, Modeh Ani. I am thankful. I am thankful for this day. Modeh Ani. I am thankful. Modeh Ani. I am grateful. I am grateful for this day.
Modeh Ani.
I am grateful. Modeh Ani. Modeh Ani. I am thankful for this day. Modeh Ani. I am thankful. Modeh Ani.
If you like that piece, take the song sheet home. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Very Bob Marley. So it's on YouTube. Take it home. If you like it, play it. If you almost remember, play it in the morning when you're first getting up. What a way to start your day. On page number 16 in the Siddur. Remember, anytime you see a little red arrow in the Siddur, you know that's drawing our attention to the main point of a passage. Last two stanzas on 16. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. So, the definition of loving God is hating evil. The definition of being righteous is knowing that light is here in the universe for you and me to see our way forward. We have to make a difference in our own world. Each and every one of us has his or her own method of making the world more illuminated and more filled with honor and respect and justice. Page 21. Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kavod shemo, Hishtachavul Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim el kavod, Hirim Adonai al mayim rabim, Kol Adonai b'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shaver arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzeh halvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel Lebanon, Vasirion kemo then re'emim, Kol Adonai chotzei labot eish, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yachol el ayalot, Vayechesov ye'arot, Uvehechalo kulo omer kavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz liamo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo vashalom. This psalm is well known because it has the name of God 18 times. So it stands out. And perhaps for that reason, it is recited or chanted on Friday night, some shows on Saturday morning as well. And separate from just counting God's name, which appears 18 times, if you look at the phrase Kol Adonai, which is before us, the phrase Kol Adonai means the voice of God. The voice of God appears 7 times. And this is Friday night. It's the beginning of Shabbos. And when you and I hear the number 7, what do we think about? 7 days of creation, exactly why. So you can understand why this psalm is here within the context of starting Shabbos, and again in some shuls tomorrow morning as well. And bearing that in mind, we now know Psalm 29. Please look at the very last line, which we just sang on the English side. God will grant strength to God's people. God will bless the people of Israel with peace. The Hebrew phrase is Adonai oz la'amo yitain. God will give strength to his people. Adonai yevarech et amo vashalom. God will bless his people with peace. It's a very major teaching, and it leaves this position of this psalm, which is associated with Friday night and Shabbat morning, and it comes into many parts of Jewish tradition. It becomes almost a bumper sticker in different contexts of prayers, of ancient, of modern poetry, of writings, of commentary, and the like. It's a very well-known phrase. God will give strength to his people. God will bless the people with peace. And in these hours, you and I need to hear that message, that we are not alone. We may sense, we may feel sometimes alone, because there's a lot of stress right now for we, the Jewish people. This is a hope. This is a message. I wish I could say it's a promise, but it's certainly a hope that God will continue to give us strength and to bless us with peace. And now we turn to the Lachadodi on page 23. The first 3 stanzas, page 25, the last 3 stanzas of the Lachadodi. L'chadodi l'krat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi l'krat kala p'nei Shabbat nikab. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Tishmi'anu el hamayuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem ultif eret velit hilam, lechad odi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machashava techila, lechad odi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitza imitoch hafecha, Ravlach shevet be'emek habacha, Vehu yachamol alayechem lam, Lechad odi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikab. 25. V'hayolim shisa shosayich, V'rachaku kol mevayich, Yasis alayich Elohayich, Kimsos chatan al kala, Lechad odi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, Yamin u'smol tifrotzi, V'et Adonai taritzi, Al yarish ben partzi, V'nismecha v'nagila, Lechad odi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'b'tzala, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala, Lechad odi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela. Please now remain standing for just a moment for the Psalm for Shabbat. On the page 27 and 28 on the English side. It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night.
Fingers of liberty pluck up the heart, let the sound of the lyre rise up.
You gladdened me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork.
How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs.
The arrogant do not understand. The fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only be destroyed forever.
But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time.
Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered.
As the wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil.
As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear.
The righteous flourish like a date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards.
In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. We remain standing now the Baruch Hu on page 39a. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Voed. We are seated. The first bracha on the English side. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever.
Baruch Adonai, who reigns in justice.
El Chai V'Kayom, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Olam Voed. Baruch Ata Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. On page number 40, on the English side. With timeless love, you have loved your people, the house of Israel. You've taught us Torah and mitzvot, statutes and laws. Therefore, Adonai, our God, as we lie down and as we rise up, we shall speak of your laws, rejoicing in the words of your Torah and in your mitzvot forever and ever. For they are our life and the fullness of our days, and on them we shall meditate day and night. Do not ever withdraw your love from us. Baruch Atah Adonai, who loves the people Israel. V'avatachal tasir mimenu olamim. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema's on page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol lebavcha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam b'shitecha b'beitecha, v'lektecha v'derech, v'shachbecha v'kumecha, v'kishartam liot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, v'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, v'visharecha. Perhaps some commentary on page 41 or on passages on page 42, a moment of silence. Adonai Elohechem emet. The Shema is just about in the center of the service, and it speaks of love, which means love is centered within our mindset. So we have the song sheet tonight, Love Your God. This is a familiar piece. This is from Craig Taubman, Love Your God. And now we turn to Micha Mocha on page 44 in the Siddur. Page 44. Micha Mocha B'Elim Adonai Micha Mocha Nedar B'Kodesh Noratilot Ol Seifele Malchutecha Ra'uvanecha Bokeh Yam Lifnei Moshe Zeili Anuv Yamru Adonai Yimloch La'olam Va'ed V'ne'emar Kifad Adonai et Yaakov Ugalom Yar Chazal Mimenu Baruch Ata Adonai Gal Yisrael. On page 45. Tonight, the last stanza on the English side calls out to me. This is for all of us. For us, our families, our neighbors, people whom we don't know, people in Alabama, people in the United States, people around the world. The phrase is, shelter us. It's the lower stanza on page 45 on the English side. Shelter us all in the shadow of your wings. For you, God, watch over and deliver us all. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us all your canopy of peace. Baruch Atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel, and over Jerusalem and the world. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. On page 46. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Beinu v'bnei Yisrael oti l'olam, oti l'olam, oti l'olam. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. V'vayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Domtrei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imero amen. Yehei shmei Abba Mevorach, La'olam Yalmei Almaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpar, V'yitramah, V'yinaseh, V'yiradar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei Dekudesha, B'chu, Leila, Mekor B'chata, V'shirata, Tush V'chata, V'nechemata, Da'amiran B'alma, V'yimeru, Amen. An opportunity for us to offer a silent personal prayer. We rise the traditional text found here on pages 47 through 52, or perhaps we devise our own private silent prayer and reflection. Earlier today, I received an email from a colleague, one of the rabbis in Birmingham. He emailed all the rabbis and the cantors within the state of Alabama, those he had emails, and he asked us to pass along if we knew of somebody and he didn't have this contact information. He believes that on Wednesday, a measure is coming to the State House, a bill which, if passed, will post the Ten Commandments on every classroom across the state of Alabama. And when he emailed, it's always Friday afternoon, it's noon, 1 o'clock. Most rabbis are getting a little busy at noon, 1 o'clock on a Friday. And in his email, he remarked that he's also a little tied up right now, but he's wondering if in some way we can perhaps communicate. So perhaps post-Havdalah or Sunday we'll start varying forms of communication. And he wants to know if there might be an interest in our building a shared voice, perhaps going to the State House. And I have my own thoughts in my own head, but I'm wondering, you're my laboratory. Does it matter to have posters of the Ten Commandments in classrooms across the state of Alabama? Does it matter to you?
Yes. It matters to the state. I mean, this is the light that we're talking about. I would think that would influence those people who aren't exposed otherwise. I don't associate it with, with an exclusively Christian or Jewish idea. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if people had a little guidance? Seems to be lacking in the public school system. Not in general, but certainly a little bit. It would matter, is my point, and I don't think in a negative way.
So to the positive, you think it is a positive?
I think so. I'm trying to figure out how to stop meth in Coden, Alabama. You know, these people have no guidance and some lack adult supervision. And why would we not want to have that?
Those are the ideals that the founding fathers were looking at, was Judeo-Christian ideals. A lot of people think that the Enlightenment was the main influence, and it certainly is there, but the founding fathers were more heavily influenced by Judeo-Christian ideals than Enlightenment ideals. It's the founding presidents in this country. They should be displayed for people to think about.
Thank you. Other thoughts?
Rabbi?
Please.
If they're going to do it, and I don't really necessarily think they need to, but if they're going to do it, I think the least they can do is have the correct one, the one that's ours, so we came first.
So have the correct one. That's a really interesting term.
Which
So-
version of the Ten Commandments?
Well, that's what Maddie's bringing out, so that's the question. That is the question. And so I'm going to ask you, since all of you are experts in this field, what's the first of the Big Ten?
I am the Lord your God,
Keep going.
who brought you out of Egypt.
Exactly. Now, if you turn to a fairly typical Christian version of the 10, will that be the number one? No, it's not. What's the number one on the Christian side? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Don't manufacture any foreign gods and don't bow down to them. We call that kind of number two, kind of. So, have you ever asked yourself why there's this difference between what we call the Jewish version and the Christian version?
Because they were taken out of Egypt.
Correct. Because they weren't taken out of Egypt. And when the early church writings are emerging in the 0s to 100s period of time, as that new identity is emerging and taking hold, people were very aware of their identities. And therefore they were speaking accurately when they took hold of this segment of material And they recognized that the body of the Christian community had not experienced slavery and the 10 plagues and the Exodus with Moses and then the journey towards the mountain. So it was very deliberate that that element of what we now call early Christianity came forth. And within Christian life, there are different versions of the 10. The Douay Bible has a slight difference as well. So is that an issue? Who decides which version of the 10 statements are put on the wall? And by the way, do we call them 10 commandments in Hebrew?
No.
What do we call them? The 10 statements, the 10 words. Because you all know the word commandment. What's the Hebrew word for commandment? Please get this right. What's the for commandment? Mitzvah. Whew, thank you, exactly. The Hebrew word for commandment is mitzvah. And the nickname for the 10, and it's mentioned 3 times in the Torah, is either dibrot or devarim. Same thing, daber, which means word or state. So aseret hadibrot, aseret hadvarim, from a Jewish point of view, is the 10 statements, or the 10 words, not commandments, because within the Torah there's the understanding that the first, I am the Lord thy God who took you out of the land of Egypt, is it a commandment or is it a statement?
It's a statement.
It's a declaration, it's a statement. So are we quibbling? Are we quibbling? Jews quibble. I mean, that's part of our DNA. It's our Daled Nun Aleph, it's our DNA. So when Maddie raises the point that Maddie would not mind as long as it's the, did you say original or accurate? Original, okay. So another point to consider. Sam.
Well, if they're, I guess it's the first few commandments are just about the Jewish people. They're not about the people of Alabama. They're not commanded to do things, the you versus, you're commanded and we're commanded in the first few. It doesn't really relate to the world at large. It's something the Jews have to obey. Seems to me, according to the commentaries in the Ahavas.
So what's the first? I'm the Lord thy God who took you out of the land of Egypt. Number 2 is don't make any gods. Don't bow down to any foreign gods. And then it's don't take God's name in vain. That's the number 3. Don't take God's name in vain. And what's number 4? You're doing it right now. What's number 4? Observe Shabbat. What's number 5? That one you know.
What day is Shabbat?
Well, that's, if you're quibbling again, you're quibbling. We commit to quibbling, okay. And then number 5 is honor thy father and thy mother. And then 6 through 10 are all the famous don'ts. So does this raise any issues or thoughts or points for people? If we're talking about a baseline of guidance, that's certainly one very strong and very sensible and plausible way of understanding the 10. On the other hand, to whom are these 10 words directed in the original? And does that matter now 3,300 years later after Moses? As we're navigating this new territory, which may be before us next week in the Alabama State House. So I'm asking because I want to have a sense of what your thoughts are. And I have...
So just one other point. The last high holidays, I was flipping through them up. So Abraham Joshua Heschel has this little many-faced one God. Is it really our desire to build a monolithic society, one party, one view, one leader, and no opposition? Is religious uniformity desirable or even possible? Does not the task of preparing the kingdom of God require a diversity of talents, a variety of rituals, soul-searching, as well as opposition? Perhaps it is the will of God that in this eon there should be diversity in our forms of devotion and commitment to God.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Honorable. Definitely honorable. Definitely. Mr. Lloyd?
Your question was, does it matter?
Does it matter?
To most people,
to us.
most public school students, practically speaking, no, it doesn't matter. However, that's not the proper question. The question is, should it be enacted? That's really what the rabbi is asking you to comment on.
Right, but I'm asking you, does it matter to you?
In my humble opinion, no. First of all, it's clearly violative of the First Amendment, which prohibits the establishment of religion by the state. That violates the First Amendment. Secondly, it puts teachers in an untenable position of having to, for those students to whom it does matter, it puts public school teachers in a position of having to field questions and interpret questions regarding the Ten Commandments, which is not something that public school teachers should be ever be asked to do. Also violates that would violate the First Amendment too. Jewish organizations in this country for decades have opposed this very thing, simply because it injects religion into the public square improperly. Religion should be here in the synagogue, or in a church, or in the home, but not in the public square, and not in public schools, in my opinion.
I think, too, it raises problems with those who have no background in Judaism or Christianity, whether they're Hindu, Buddhist, or even Muslim. And it may prove offensive to them. The intent of instilling the right things is an ideal to which we should strive. And I think their intent is correct, the means of going about it are incorrect. I think it could be offensive to anyone who is not part of the Judeo-Christian community.
Please, yes, ma'am.
Larry stole my idea as usual, but that's what I was going to say. But also what I was going to say, it does violate separation of church and state, but it's a slippery slope because our Republicans say, this seems like the most generic, maybe you could say, oh, it's Jewish, or if they use the other version, it's Christian. But what if next session, it's a cross? I mean, it's just a very slippery slope, and I think that's why the founding fathers had the foresight to just say, keep it out, because there's too many ways it could go badly, I think.
There would be nothing wrong with it, presenting the Ten Commandments in context with the other traditions and other, the Babylonian laws that predated Judaism, and they had a code, and then you got the Koran, they've got a tradition, their own tradition, but I really think we ought to separate church and state, period. And it's helpful for Jews to keep it that way. Because I will tell you this, all those people love Jesus now and Israel, but it wouldn't take them long to, if one of them changes their mind and say, hey, the Jews, they're being punished forever, the heck with them. We should have Jerusalem. We got a bunch of Meshuggah people out there. Fanaticism is a problem. That's what I see wrong with it. Promotes.
Michael, any thoughts?
Well, I think that this is really dependent upon the politicians of the day, so that in 4 years, there may be a different administration, and they may want to take the 10 statements down if these politicians or legislators put it up, say that pass the legislation and say that the school has to put it in every classroom. 4 years from now, you may have another group of legislators that say, no, that's not right, and they take it down. And then I think it becomes a real problem. I mean, it's sort of like whiplash. I mean, should it be up or should it be down? And so I think that we should just be consistent and just not do it.
How about just putting up the golden rule or 10 statements to live by?
Okay, what's the golden rule? Those who have the gold make the rule. That's not, I thought that was the golden rule. So, what's the golden rule?
Do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Say that again louder.
Do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Which version is that?
The only Christian I know.
No, do not do.
That's the Christian version. What's the Jewish version, Hillel, a little bit earlier?
Do not do.
That which is hateful to you, don't do to someone else.
Even better.
Hillel said that
But in
in
the
the
middle
Mishnah.
of Leviticus, there's
Right?
it's something like.
Love your neighbor as yourself. Not something it is exactly, love your neighbor as yourself, exactly right. So these are very important messages. So a question would be, well, there are many questions, but does the originating context matter? And
Does it matter to whom?
well, there it is. So if we're seeking guidance for malleable young minds, and maybe the teachers as well, and maybe the administrators and the vice principals and the principals as well, then maybe the material which is considered sacred by some, by many, is helpful and appropriate and assistive and necessary. On the other hand, if the context matters, then maybe it could cause problems, which is not the goal. So maybe it should be the golden rule. Maybe it should be the last five, which are, what are the last five? Do you know the order?
Don't steal.
Okay, the don'ts. And what are they? Do you know them in order?
No.
Don't kill.
Okay. Is it murder or kill? Murder. Is there a difference between murdering and killing?
Yes.
What's the difference between murdering and killing?
One's allowed, one's not.
About 25 years in prison. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So here's the issue, because the Hebrew is retzach, which usually means murder, but it could be interpreted as kill. So it depends on which commentary you're looking at in Hebrew when you get to commandment number 6. Is it don't murder or don't kill? And then it's don't commit adultery. We all know what that one is. And then don't steal. And then what's the next one?
Don't covet.
That's the last one. What's the next one? Don't lie in court. Don't bear false witness is the fancy terminology. What it really means is don't lie in court. Don't lie as a witness or somebody doing some type of testimony in a court. That's number 9. And number 10 is don't covet. What's coveting? To be so jealous that it takes over you, and you, from a Jewish point of view, you begin to plan to steal. That's what coveting is. You get so enraptured and full of a desire that your thoughts turn to planning to steal. That's what coveting is. Because generally speaking, within Jewish life, we are not held accountable for thoughts. We're not held, a thought is not a sin. A thought that flashes through our brain, that's not a sin. We don't consider that a sin. Action is a chait. And that's why in Yom Kippur we do al chait, al chait, al chait. All those that you look at on page 314 in the prayer book are behaviors, deeds, actions that we know we need to improve upon or eliminate from our lives. But we don't see a thought that is in our head as a problem. The one exception is coveting, because we become so energized, so obsessed. Thank you, that's the better word. We're obsessed, that's the word. That it might lead us to a certain type of behavior. But again, this comes from Jewish mindset. So should we put the last 5 up on the wall? Or love thy neighbor as thyself? But again, as you said, some people from a different background may not feel comfortable with having a material that comes from the book of Leviticus as a big placard on every single classroom wall from K through 12 across the state.
And which translation from Leviticus?
Drumkind. So please, yeah, sure.
question is, should it be mandatory that every classroom in every public school in the country have it displayed? Probably no, but I think banning it would be just as extreme, like no classroom can have any of it displayed. I think would also be something not good. You know, with, in Christianity, you know, the thought behind what you do, you're saying action matters more than the thoughts, or
Yes.
at least the thoughts are not a sin.
Right.
So I guess in Christianity, you can do something good, but if you're doing it with a terrible motivation, or if you're doing it with an ugly heart, with like, you know, you're not doing it for the right reason per se, you're doing it to look good, or you're doing it for a reason that is not a good thing. I mean, that, at least they talk about it in church a lot, like that's not a good thing you're doing. It may look like a good thing, but if you're only doing it so you can, you know, look good in front of somebody or whatever, like that matters why you do things and the thoughts in your head when you do those things, not just the thing itself. So I guess
Your motives matter.
yeah, so is that
Motives
something
matter.
that you also teach?
Yes, so, and the most famous case of that message would be giving charitably, what we call tzedakah. So if we give tzedakah, but we do so because we're trying to keep up with the Joneses who are already donating a certain amount of money. In your case, we want to look good. Or we might be having a bad day and somebody seeks tzedakah and, you know, we're tired, it's a bad day, you know, the dog ran away and the car's not starting, the refrigerator died, really it's a bad day, right? And somebody comes up to you and you say, oh yeah, just here. And there's an attitude there. That's considered negative. And so, yes, you've done something charitable, which is good, but your attitude has sullied or brought low or almost negated the act of charitable giving. Those kinds of things. And that's and you know, donating tzedakah, whether it's of actual financial means or behavior or other kind of giving, is very important part of Judaism. We talk about it all the time, as you know. So that's a very good example. So you're raising a good point. So motives do matter. You're right. Yes, in another way of thinking. So now I want to surprise you for just a little bit. If you will, look at the back of the Siddur. We're on page 453 for just a moment, and then we'll nearly conclude the service. On page 453, and obviously you are all fluent readers, but as soon as you turn to these pages here on 453 on both sides, your eyes take hold of messaging. This is a North American Siddur. This is prepared for conservative synagogues throughout the United States and Canada. I don't really think the Mexican community uses these, but Masorti, conservative synagogues in the US and Canada, use the Siddur. And also its forebear, which is the blue-gray, the Sim Shalom that many Siddurim, many of us are familiar with. We used it for a prior generation. And that Siddur as well, the blue-gray, the Sim Shalom that we grew up on for the past 25 years or so, also has these similar passages. The difference is that when we're saying prayers in a Siddur, whether it's in our home lives or in synagogue, it's personal, it is private, it is communal, it is within the realm of the freedoms that we as American Jews enjoy, guaranteed by the Constitution, just as any person of any other religious faith or a background or identity has his or her own freedoms and might be turning to his or her own prayer tradition, if there is a prayer tradition within that community, again, within the privacy of home life or congregational life or something else. But as Larry so eloquently mentioned and articulated, when we get into the public square, things get a little different. And I think, as Ruth mentioned, slippery slope is a very important issue. And we Jews are a minority. We've been on the wrong end of the stick too many times to count, as we all know. So that may be why many of us get nervous when we start hearing about these types of potential laws. Because when a law comes forth and a person or a community which sees itself as a minority seems to feel excluded, that's a challenge. And that's a fear. and the freedoms which we all enjoy are here so that we don't feel challenged and we don't feel afraid. And each of us obviously needs to make up his or her own mind. These are issues for us as adults to evaluate and examine. But we need to know about it here within our beloved sacred community. May we all go forth and we all do the right thing, each in his or her own way, guided by the principles of Ahavas Chesed, which means the love of doing kindness.
2 points, since you referred to page 453. The quote from Leviticus, proclaim liberty through the land for all its inhabitants, is inscribed on the Liberty Bell.
Yes, it was, absolutely.
And,
It's a great line, love it.
all right, and the last...
And look what happened, it broke.
and,
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
and the last 2 lines, or the first part of the last paragraph, they shall beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift sword against nation, and they shall not again experience war, is on the sculpture outside the United Nations.
Sounds familiar.
Isaiah and Micah.
Lots of songs written.
Isaiah and Micah.
And
So-
on the same page, in case anyone has forgotten what it says, the First Amendment is in the middle of page 453.
Mhm.
Uh,
The Establishment Clause.
The Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause.
Mhm.
Pretty important to us as Jews.
Right. And as Americans, and other peoples as well. So, I don't have any answers. I have a lot of questions. And at some point, I will be, I think, reporting back to you, and we'll see what happens.
So
But-
many different options.
I think maybe it might be better served as putting a plaque that discusses family values and the reuniting of the core family that might help children these days that seem like that has been lost and causes a lot of violence on the streets from no parents at the home.
100% agree. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Just for a minute, we'll rise for the land in just a minute. Just remember, for some of us, it's been only a few years since we were in grade school. But for others of us, it's been a few more than years since we've been in grade school, right? So, not you, because you're the youngest one in the room, except the cute one, okay? But many of us, it's been a while since we were in grade school. And if you remember walking into grade school and sitting down, and hopefully there's a flag, and there are various posters and signs, and the teacher often, hopefully, I think, reiterated messages that were posted on the walls. So whichever messages that are going to be up there, again, point made, it's plausible that a 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8th grader will ask, what is that? What's going on? And then who becomes the explicator and the interpreter of varying texts? And some teachers may be very adept and skilled and professional and capable of handling that, and some teachers may not. And some teachers may be able to, but may not want to. So, and if it's not the teacher, then is it the principal, or is it the state legislator of that district who comes in once a week or once a month and has a meeting? And I too would love to have family values restored in our schools and our communities. Questions? We rise for the Elenu. The Elenu is on page number 56, please.
So we started out reading the Bible.
And did Surah say, I want to read it? You read it in
Well, I read
Hebrew?
a psalm.
You read a psalm.
Yeah.
You read a psalm.
I don't know if everybody read a psalm or not, but we had to read, somebody had to stand up and lead the class, or read the class a psalm, or something.
Every Friday at the school assembly, the principal would read from the book of Psalms.
So psalms are pretty parv,
Yes.
you know? So for people who are accustomed to or within their own mind attached to a faith tradition. but there are those who may not be attached to what you and I call the Judaic or the Christian faith tradition, in which case that might be a problem for some.
We had at least one person who was Muslim in our class.
Okay. And just remember, since you and I can identify, I think, with being a minority, we can understand what other people who are minorities might be experiencing as well. Let's continue this afterwards. Aleinu is on page number 56. Thank you. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Noteh Shamayim V'Yoser Haaretz U'Moshav Yekaro B'Shamayim Mimal U'Shechinatu Zo B'Gavei Meromim Hu Eloheinu Ein Od Kakatu betorato v'yadata yom ashebota el levavecha ki Adonai hua Elohim b'shamayim mimal v'al haaretz mitachat Enod. Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihye Adonai echad u'shema echad. In a moment, Kaddish on page number 58, and we remember with great love on this Shabbat, Dora Weinstein, Bunny Liebeskind, Harris Olinsky, Dorothy Block Parlin, Joseph Schnitzer, Manuel Siegel, Dara Davidoff Brown, Jules Cohen. Is that your father? John Stern, Anna Friedman, Milton Berman, Annie Maisel. Joe's wife. Okay. Herbert Arthur Meisler, Joseph Brooke, Milton Brisman, Bertha Maisel, that's your mother, Molly Gross, Mayor Davidoff, Fred Sussman. Are there any other names to mention this evening? We remember all those whose lives were cut short by the attacks by Hamas. Kaddish is on page 58. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba Amen. Be'olma divarach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chaye echon v'yom echon u'v'chaye dachol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zaman kariv v'imeru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba nivarach la'alam u'lalmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shemei dekudusha, b'rechu, la'ela min kol berchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'olma, v'imuru, amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. And may we know peace. May we know shalom. We're seated. We'll conclude in just a minute. Shabbos, my thoughts are with you and your mama. We'll be concluding with that last song on the song sheet. This is from Ross Levy. And as you see here, the title of the song is May We Never Walk Alone. He actually calls it Tefillat HaDerech. Tefillat HaDerech is a prayer that's been around for many hundreds of years in our Jewish memory. It's a prayer for a safe journey, and Minette and I say the Tefillat HaDerech when we get on a plane. There is a traditional prayer in Hebrew and English, but you can expand that and not only articulate when you're going on a long plane trip. You can say, a car trip or a boat trip, or whatever it might be. And I think Ross Levy is taking hold of that idea and maintaining it, but also speaking of when you and I are just walking out of a room and we're just going out into the world on a given day, may we never walk alone. entered in peace. Kiddush Motzi. Good Shabbos, folks. Thank you for joining in. We hope to see you in the near future. Come on back. We'd love to see you in person. May God bless you. Know that we love you. You're an important part of our lives. May you have peace. Good Shabbos.